Welcome back to The Ordinary Experience. Today I have with me a clubhouse friend that I've made over the internet. We've got to know each other for the last couple months, been in and out of conversation. She's been bugging me to come on. This is Teresa. Have I said that correctly? Or as close as humanly possible to correctly.
Yes, you have. Hello, Viraj.
How are you doing today?
Yes. I'm great, thank you. Excited?
Nervous?
Yes. Slightly super nervous,
Okay,
actually.
so I think we should just jump straight into it. Why are you nervous?
Okay. I think it's just the fact that regardless of like how many views or listeners this will get, there's a potential to like get a lot of them. Like potentially a lot of people will like listen to me. And I'm just not used to, I've never been in any situation where I have big audience listening to me. So yeah, I think it's just about that and being like recorded, both my voice and my image. It's a new experience. It's what it is. I think it all comes down to that.
What is it about? Is it because you're not in control? Like you're not in control of your own image and your own voice? Like on an Instagram feed, for instance, it's like a highly curated version of what you want to post, right? This is slightly more laid back. It's a little bit more like a conversation you'll have at a restaurant. Does that scare you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It does. And as I said, because I don't know who will listen to it, like if we're at a restaurant, I know like whether there's more people with us or not, like I know who's there. I can adjust what I say, both in terms of like tone and voice even, but also in terms of content. Here, I don't have that like instant feedback. Like I'm talking to you and I will see your reactions, but I will not see anyone else's reactions. And once they see this, it will be recorded already. Like it's done. I can't do anything about it.
Like you can't change it,
So,
adapt it. You can't change it. Well, we can change the captions, but the topic of conversation is stuck in time.
Yeah.
Is it because like it's a new experience and it's all of that wrapped into one? Like that just it's this cycle of I can't control it, and as a result, I'm scared of it.
I think you're like describing it correctly. Like you're putting into words what I'm thinking.
Okay, as long as I'm not putting words in your mouth.
It's definitely that, yeah.
What,
No.
We had a conversation off camera.
Right.
Thankfully, we had a conversation off camera about like you being worthy of coming on a podcast. Like, can you talk me through what that's like? Because I know that when I started this, it was never about like other people wanting to hear me. It was more just like me vocalizing my own thoughts, feelings, opinions, and it's turned into this where I interview guests and empowering the ordinary person. Like mentally, when I asked you to come on the podcast, what went through your head?
So first of all, I think we need to clarify when I asked you to come on the podcast. That's how it happened. And then you agreed to it because you were like, she's never going to leave me alone if I don't do this. So what we can take like of this whole episode is like persistence makes you go a long way. And I'm on a podcast now. Anyway,
why did you want to do one? If you're scared of not being able to control your narrative, why suggest like, oh, can I come on?
Yeah, it's a paradox, and like in a way, it doesn't make any sense. But so I feel like I have a lot to say. They may not be the right things, but I do have a lot to say. Like I'm a chatterbox. like talking to people. And what scares me about like the potential number of listeners or viewers on the episode or the podcast, that scares me, but at the same time it excites me. Like what can come like out of this, or how will my voice and what I'm saying impact other people. Because I've been impacted by people who have no idea that they had that effect on me.
When on that topic, if you don't mind me interjecting, are those people that have impacted your life? For me, a lot of them are like people in the media, so celebrities, athletes, individuals that are constantly in front of a camera. With you, is it individuals that are in the media, or are they just normal human beings that have said something to you, like a passing comment in the street, and sometimes like that can just blow your world like wide open and be like, wow, this is incredible?
Yeah, definitely the latter.
Really?
Like I'm very into like pop culture, and not so much now, but like I used to know all the celebrities and stuff like that, but I've never felt impacted by them, or not that much anyway. So it's the ordinary person, because those people are the ones that I can relate to, more or less, but I can relate much more to a normal person than to a celebrity.
Right.
They're not meant to be relatable. Like that's the opposite of why they were created. Like celebrity culture, you're not supposed to relate to them, you're supposed to aspire to be them. But for me to aspire to be something, I need to see a level of like proximity, as in their situation is not as different to mine, if that makes sense. And with celebrities, that just doesn't happen. So it's the everyday person.
So because
that usually impacts me.
Because they're so far beyond the realm of like your current situation, and everything is literally like what they do on a daily basis, what you see they do in the daily basis is literally only things that you can imagine. You can't connect with them on that like one-to-one level.
And also I don't aspire to be like them. So it's not like I aspire to be like everyone who has had an impact on me, on the way I think, on my life. But I don't see much more to aspire in, or much to aspire, I mean, in being a celebrity. So, this is not to say that celebrities cannot, do good things and impact you. Like, I've been inspired by celebrities. It's not like I haven't.
If you got one off the top of your head.
But it's more common. I mean, I don't think the people who have inspired me qualify as celebrities. Like, they're famous in their... Define celebrity. Is it like a Hollywood person? Like a singer?
Yeah, that's the typical kind of narrative of what a celebrity is.
Yeah, so...
are you talking more, are you talking more about people that are just in the public eye?
Not exactly. I was thinking... Yeah, but those are not celebrities, so scratch that. Yeah, I can't tell you anyone that I've been influenced by, at least not off the top of my head.
It's not a single person. No one comes to mind.
Beyonce, because she's Beyonce.
What did she give you? Did she give you confidence?
I guess, yeah. I mean, you just blast on some Queen Bee and you're good to
Makes
go.
You feel like women run the world,
confidence,
right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but in terms of a specific
Hmm.
thing. Like I can tell you stuff that I've heard, like a sentence that stuck with me like ever since. And that comes from ordinary people. But in terms of celebrities, I can tell you a specific thing that they inspire me to do or be. It's more of an overall feeling, if that makes sense.
Oh, so okay, so kind of what you're saying is that you get more out of the ordinary person on a micro level. So like it taps into something smaller and something more distinct. While with someone that's in the public eye, people on TV, whatever, right? They give you more of a macro view.
Yeah.
Okay. I get that. I get that.
Yeah, like Beyonce and confidence.
Like it's a big ticket item. It's not something very, very specific that you're dealing with. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
With the ordinary person, it is.
For me, like I have had similar situations where someone said something to me and I've been like, wow, that hits home a lot. And I think I've got a good balance between people that are in the public eye, athletes, celebrities, musicians, as well as ordinary individuals. So for me, my celebrity, also to speak, my athlete is Kobe, um, the basketball player, and I will always talk about this. And it's like that Mamba mentality of outworking the next guy, the next person, but also striving to be the best version of yourself. And that's what sticks with me. And he's gone and he's passed on to the next realm, wherever that might be. But that is the thing that kind of like when I reach a deep dark place and I'm like, why am I doing this? What am I doing? Like this week I've had a terrible week. Just it's felt horrible. Um, just sort of been out of whack. But I know that in the back of my head there's this little voice that's going like best version of yourself, like Mamba mentality, like grind, like pick yourself back up. Why are you doing this? Like readjust, reset, and let's keep going. And like for me, that's helped a lot with dealing with everything that I deal with, my emotions and my feelings on a daily basis. And so it's that's really useful. But then, like I said, I had a conversation with an ordinary person. Like, it was on the way back from my road trip through Europe, and it was literally the last leg of the journey. We were crossing the channel, and we were on the ferry back, and we were talking to this couple, and this couple had literally like they had packed their bags in the 60s, I think, and literally drove into Europe, maybe 60s or 70s, drove into Europe in a truck or a van or a car. And for the next like 30, 40 years, all they had been doing is like just moving from place to place in Europe and working. And they were telling us all of these like stories. Like they were like quite old now, like 60, 70. Um, and it was just the most phenomenal conversation. Like I just wasn't expecting that. And when that just it something tweaks and something triggers it, and you're like, wow, I remember that. I remember that conversation. It was phenomenal. A whole 2 hours just went by like that.
Yeah, I get it. No, that's such a great feeling when it happens, and I've done my share of traveling, like solo traveling, which has given me some opportunities to experience stuff like that. And that's why we're gonna say something.
I was gonna ask. Let's switch
Yeah.
gears slightly. You mentioned solo traveling. What's it like as a female to go solo traveling?
Honestly,
Is it as big a deal as everyone makes out?
I
Like,
didn't love it.
okay, what the solo traveling or solo traveling as a female?
No, solo traveling.
Okay,
Um, I mean, first of all, I think it's important to say that my experience is is not reflective of everyone's experience. So, I might say I didn't face any issues traveling as a female or solo traveling as a female. But I've heard stories of people who are like close to being raped and other like horrible things like that while solo traveling as a
Jesus.
female. Um, Also, it depends on where you travel. Like, I've only traveled alone in Europe. I went to Slovenia, I went to Croatia, I went to London. Like, that doesn't even qualify as like solo traveling.
You'd be
It
surprised.
does.
There are
But
some not nice spots in London.
no, yeah, but I also had people there. So like I went by myself, but I knew people there. But Croatia and Slovenia was 100% alone. Um, and I never felt, there was one time that I felt worried, I guess, because are you familiar with the concept of couch surfing?
Couch surfing, where you're like moving from couch to couch and
Yeah,
staying at different people's places. Yeah.
basically, yeah. So the idea is like to connect with different people. So it's not like, oh, I'll give you a place to sleep and that's it. No, you're supposed to like um, get something out of it, like know people. And if someone's hosting you, the idea is for you to, you know, spend time with them. It's not just I'm gonna sleep here and I'll go and do whatever I want to do without you. Like there's not an obligation, but it's how it works usually. So I had met a lot of people through couch surfing because you can use couch surfing just as a way to meet
Hmm.
people, but mainly it's used to find a place to sleep. And you can find everything. You can find people who actually have a spare bedroom and you sleep in there. You find people who like have a sofa. You can find everything on there. And obviously you find people who are looking to take advantage of you, whether you're a man or a woman.
What's it
Um,
like?
and
What's it
I,
like being, if you don't mind me asking, like when you're in a position like
yeah.
that where you feel uncomfortable and you are solo traveling, what do you do? Like, how does that feel? Like, how do you get out of a situation like that?
Um, Again, I've never been in a situation where I was facing the person I was feeling uncomfortable, that was making me feel uncomfortable. The only situation I had was I found this guy on couch
Mm.
surfing. I was supposed to stay at his place. This was in Ljubljana, Slovenia. Um, and then I can't tell you what happened for sure, but just the way he was talking, something felt off. So this was right at the beginning of my trip. So I left Portugal, went to Milan,
Hmm.
spent like a day in Milan, and in the evening I took a coach to Ljubljana, and I got there at like 8 a.m. the next day. Um, and something was off about this guy, so I said, you know what, I'll stay in a hotel. Like I'll need a good night of sleep anyway, so I won't do couch surfing tonight. Um, and and yeah, nothing happened. It's just I told the guy like, you know what, things changed. Like my plans changed. I don't need to stay at your place. Thank you very much. Bye bye. And that was it. I've never been in a situation where I was facing that person,
Hmm.
and like while solo traveling. Anyway, I've only encountered great people. I've done a few like stupid things, too. Like I in Croatia, I mean, I felt fine by it, but telling people, they were like, why would you do that? But I know other people have done like way crazier things. But when I was in Croatia, I got a ride with like four Italian guys. They were going from the city where I was to the city where I wanted to be. And there's this app called BlaBlaCar, and it's just ride sharing basically.
Yeah.
So, you know, I looked it up. So if someone was going to, I think it was from Zadar to Split. Yeah. And these four Italian guys looked, you know, all right and fine. And I was like, okay, I'll go with you. And everything went perfect. And then while we were all in Split, we actually met a few times after they gave me the ride because, you know, we got along and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Um, last time I was in Canada, or the only time I was in Canada, I went out and then I was talking to like the door guy, and he was like, "Oh, but where do you live?" And I was like, "Oh, here." And he said, "Okay, I'll give you a ride." And I was like, "Okay." And then I was in the car, and I was like, "What am I doing?" I was trying to
possesses
recognize
you
where
to
I
do that?
was.
Like, you're in the car and then you're thinking about the
I don't
decision you
know.
made. But you didn't feel, did you
And
not
it
feel
was
scared
like,
in those
uh,
situations?
no,
You must have an inherent
no.
like trust in people.
I do. It's horrible. Like, I hate it, but I trust everyone. I'm not gullible. So
Yeah, there's a fine line between
I
the
can,
two.
yeah, so I'm not. But you know how, like, proven uh, innocent
Proven
until
guilty.
proven
You
guilty.
very much are like that.
Yeah, so, yeah. Uh, I believe everyone's in this world to do good and just, like, vibe. And, like, no one's gonna harm me.
What about serial
Um,
killers then? Like
and
people that
to
end
be
up
fair, I've never.
murdering like hundreds, maybe not hundreds, but like several people. Like, how do you end up?
No, I'm not saying.
Are
I'm not
they
saying that
are they
is
there
how
to
it
do good?
works.
Because I'm very much the same. I try and see the best
No,
in
no, no,
people,
no.
and sometimes things go awry, and you end
Um,
up on a streak of doing horrible things.
no, yeah. I'm not saying everyone is indeed here to vibe and do good, or like not do harm, because it's more important. Um, it's more important to minimize the suffering
Mhm.
in the world than it is to maximize happiness. So I'm not saying everyone is here to like not try and do any harm, but that's how I unconsciously live my life. Of course, like, I'm not stupid. Rationally, I know there's horrible people out there, but on a like day-to-day basis,
Mhm.
I just don't act like, everyone's bad. Um, and I'm a woman, so it's very easy to, be walking somewhere and seeing like a guy behind you and wondering like, does this person like have second intentions, or is he just walking the same way I am because he's going the same
How
direction
do you
I'm going?
how do you gauge that on in the online world?
Um, can you elaborate on
Okay,
that?
so um, we met on the app Clubhouse. That's how we got to know each other, right? Um, and I think the beauty about Clubhouse is that it broke down barriers really quickly because you got to hear the tones of a person's voice. Um, that and the fact that it obviously it let you go straight into the other applications, so you could put your Instagram handle in or your Twitter handle, so you could link to those other apps really quickly. So you could find that person's kind of digital footprint, so to speak. But if someone DMs you on Instagram, like someone that you don't know, you've got no mutuals with, how do you gauge that individual's intention? Like if they're asking you for something, like I DM people to get them on the podcasts, and there must be some people that are like, why is this guy like asking me? Like I don't know him. We've got no mutuals. Like what is his intention here? And I message from my personal account. I don't always message from the ordinary experience account. So I'm not I'm never sure which one to do it off. I just end up doing it off mine because it's the one I'm mostly on. How do you gauge if someone was to like text you, someone was to DM you? How do you gauge that person's intentions like off the mark? Because you get no feeling, there's no vibe straight away. Everything that you're looking at, if you're messaging them,
No one DMs me.
okay.
I wouldn't know how to answer that. Literally, no one cares.
I'm dead.
You go on TikTok, like you go on TikTok and you see people like, oh, this guy slid into my DMs. Like, I can't relate. Like, great for you, can't relate. Like,
That is so funny. You know what? You know what the funny thing is? You know what's even more hilarious? I'm exactly the same. No one DMs me. Or minimal
Literally.
people DM me. Oh man. What? How does that make you feel when other people talk about their DMs and people like getting
Look.
messages and meeting other people?
Look.
You're gonna actually show me your DMs.
Let me get my phone. Yeah, so right now I have 5 message requests.
Right.
The other day I got a message request like of this girl who was Portuguese, I'm pretty sure, but she messaged me in English saying, hi Teresa, I have a group chat here on Instagram of women who like to explore with other women. Would you like to join? I was like, why? Like, how on earth did this person find me and thought it was like a good idea? It was not like it was a bad idea, but it was like, what goes in that person's head to think like, you know what, I'm gonna invite this person to like basically be in a shoot your shot group chat. Yeah, so I didn't reply to that one. Then I have another one of a girl saying she has a project that I could, be a good addition to. So can we talk the next day, like in the next few days? Then there's like 3 messages of people saying they want to collaborate with me, but it's that kind of collaboration that's like you get 15% off your order, but you have to order.
Yes,
like,
yes.
and pay for
I've
the
had
stuff.
those as well.
So those bullshit. Can I say bullshit?
Yes, you can. It's okay.
Is that a swear word? I don't know.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of those, and then this guy reacting with the 100% emoji to my story last night, and that's it. My DMs are not they're like a desert. So and how I deal with that, you asked.
Does it make you ever feel it?
This is what I was afraid of. That I was not gonna be able to turn my filter on, which I knew I wouldn't because I never do. But I'm here now. So
okay, so on this topic of having dry desert DMs, does it ever make you feel alone?
No,
like you have no,
not
like
alone.
You have
I wouldn't say alone.
Or, there's no one out there that cares for you. Does it ever make you feel like that?
Oh no, I mean, people send me DMs, but no, it's mostly my friends. So the same way we have our group chat on WhatsApp, we also do on Instagram, and we just share things. But when I was talking about like my DMs being dry, was more about like people just randomly DMing you, like you hear other people saying like that happens to them. I can't relate. So in that sense, I wouldn't say alone, maybe like not validated, or like we've talked about this before. Part of your idea of self only exists in relation to other people. Like without other people, there's no self. And so there's a part of you, it's different for everyone, but there's a part of you that needs to feel like approved and validated. So sometimes it does, like my confidence and my self-esteem does take a little bit of a hit when everyone's talking about the DMs they're getting, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. But then again, me and my friends, we talk all the time, like literally all the time. So I never get to feel alone.
Right.
Not saying that I want to feel alone, but like even if I wanted, you can feel alone and be surrounded by people.
Yep.
That's a fact. But in that sense of, no one's messaging me, um, I'm constantly getting messages. It's more about the content.
Right.
So it's not, if I do feel alone, it's not because of the lack of messages, because I'm constantly getting messages from my close friends.
You mentioned something about self there, and maybe we can go down that rabbit
Yeah.
hole.
Mm,
The concept of self
okay.
is in a really weird place at this moment in time, right? Because you said, and I agree with you, I think self is very much, it only exists because other people exist. Like we wouldn't have a self if other people weren't there. But we live in this world that's like online and offline now. When I say offline, I mean like in person, right? And I guess self is becoming something else now, because you now can live completely different versions of yourself. It's not just one entity. While maybe 10, 15 years ago, literally the individual that people saw was yourself. Now we're living in this highly curated world where yourself is the one that's on your Instagram, the one that's on your YouTube, the one that's on your podcast, the one that's like in person. Like that's four different selves. Four different selves. How do you think like we're gonna deal with that going into the future? Like what's your take on that?
I don't know if I agree with that.
Really?
With like you having four different selves, because I think it's the other way around.
Okay.
So back when the world was offline, um, I'm talking from like how I live my life,
I
right?
wouldn't expect anything else.
So back when yeah, no, because I'm sure there's people who actually like actively try to be someone else. But what I do think is that back when the world was like exclusively offline, um, you had to put on a happy face, or like whatever your most palatable version would be, and that's pretty much how you would, live your life. I think right now people are feeling less, um how I mentioned like the shackles, like some of my relationships feel like shackles to me.
Okay.
So I think that, um for me, social media and how I am on social media, like the content I post, especially on my Instagram stories, because I don't post much more than just like pictures of myself, like selfies on my like grid. So the stories, which is what I mostly use, if you read my stories and you see me around my friends, I'm a fairly different person. It's not like they don't know that part of me, but um let's say fast fashion, and we can get into that later, but every now and then I'm vocal about fast fashion on my Instagram stories. I barely talk about it with my
But
friends
will you still
now.
go
Like
and
I
shop from
tried.
Zara?
No, I've opted out of fashion. Um so no.
I
I do want
thought I
to
could
go
catch you out there,
sometimes.
but
No. No. But I do get that sometimes. Like it's not like I do slip sometimes.
slip between like the version of Teresa that is like on her stories and the version that's in person.
Oh no, I meant
Oh, you meant
about
about
shopping at Zara.
shopping.
Yeah, every now and then I slip, but like it's very rare. It's like once a year, and I go and buy like two tops. But when I'm there, I'm like, what if there's someone here who follows me on Instagram, and they see me like here? I'm gonna come across as like a total hypocrite, and that really worries me because when I do talk about it, I'm very vocal.
Right.
And it's just that one time, but it's one time enough for people to see you if they're at the same
But
time,
like,
and to get like a completely
let's say
different
like
idea.
your you're out and about and you're shopping or whatever, does it not like weigh on you the fact that you then have to kind of be watching your own back to see if someone that follows you on Instagram or whatever might come up to you and be like, you're a hypocrite? Like, how does that work then?
It does, but I also know that um, at the end of the day, shopping and fashion, I think we're sold the idea that fashion is an expression of self,
Mm-hmm.
which can be, but now that I've opted out of fashion, not even fast fashion, like I barely buy clothes now. Um, and if my friends say, "Oh, there's a bunch of clothes I don't want anymore," uh, I'm gonna go to their place and like see what they have, and it will be, if they're in good condition, they'll be like new clothes to me. And but fashion was something that was always, to me, was always a very important part of myself. Like, it was one of the things that were part of my identity, was the fact that I was super into fashion. um and from the moment I started realizing the evil that the fashion industry is, it was very hard for me to break up with that part of my identity, because I was like, this is how I express myself. And when I say expressing myself, it's not that I was wearing like really out there outfits. I probably looked at like any other basic bitch that you see on the street. Like, not saying that it's not the case.
Sending shots here. Okay.
I'm putting myself in that group, so um but it was part of my expression, and the way I express myself. And when you're sold that idea
Mm-hmm.
since you are born, especially as a woman, that fashion is how you express yourself, and all of a sudden you realize that you cannot keep going because your way of expressing yourself is happening at someone else's expense.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you live your whole life with this idea. It's very hard to be aligned, and when you like break up with it, it's very hard to be aligned with that all the time. So it's very hard for me to resist not shopping like 24/7. But I can tell you that it is very liberating to get over the need for new clothes. It's very liberating. But every now and then, especially when you're around people who do not share the same ideology, and I've tried to tell my friends like how bad the fast fashion industry is, and they listen to me, but it's like,
But are they
yeah,
listening
good
just
for
to
you.
entertain the
You're trying to
conversation?
do good in the world.
Are they listening just to entertain the conversation?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. Um, so yeah, when you're around people who don't share those same ideologies, it's extremely hard to be like, yeah, I don't need clothes. But then you're always getting like bombarded with
Adverts,
stuff.
people wearing new things, people buying new things.
Exactly.
Everything.
And your sense of value in a capitalistic world is like deeply attached to the things you own and how many you own.
Yeah, I think that that's really weird because we've come from a place. Let me phrase my words correctly here. We, as a society, as a humanity, have come from a place of not needing anything and then being told that we need stuff. Like, we were very, very comfortable living in our like caves probably at some point. Yeah.
Eating mangoes under a tree.
Yeah, maybe eating mangoes under a
just
tree.
chilling and vibing.
And now, like, when people say like, oh, I've opted out of fashion, or I've opted out of society's life scripts. I'm going to go and become a monk, or I'm going to go and become like a sadhu, or I'm just going to go and meditate and sit on a rock for however many years, sit under a tree. Like, that is one applauded and also looked at weirdly, when we were always built for that kind of thing. We weren't actually built for all of this. Like, we weren't built to be sitting in front of cameras and talking on podcasts. Like, we were just, I don't think we were built to have like with purpose built to have conversations. It's just a part of our like evolution to be able to communicate with one another. And now we're told that we have to have a phone to call someone. We can't just go and see them. Like, that is like, oh, you want to see me? Like, I get like that as well. I'm like, you want to see me? Can't we just call? Like, we can just FaceTime. That's fine, right? And like, I go through those switches of like, oh, I want to see people, and then like, I just want to FaceTime people. And it's like finding the balance in all of that as a human in this age is really, really odd. Especially because of COVID. Like, you can't actually see certain people. For instance, you're in Portugal right now. Like 2 years ago, I could just organize a trip and come out to Portugal. Like that. Now it's got to think about rules and regulations and like, where do you stay? Are you vaccinated? Are you not? And like, exactly. Like, it's really, really weird. But apparently we need all of that.
Yeah, I mean, when I went to the UK just 3 weeks ago, the day before I flew out to the UK, the government, the government there in the UK decided that Portugal was going to be moved to the Amber list.
Right. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, instead of having to do the test on day 2, I would have to do a test on day 2, a test on day 8, and do quarantine for 10 days. Like, all of a sudden, everything was like planned out, but then it didn't come into like, those new rules didn't start when they announced it. It was like, if you get to the UK until like day X, you don't need to do those things. But yeah, just to add that there's a bunch of new things at the moment that make your life harder for socializing and traveling. And it can get harder at any given moment, like it did when I went there. Yeah. But going back to what you were saying about like FaceTiming and not going and see someone and FaceTiming instead. I can't really subscribe to that because I meet my friends for like drinks or coffee. In Portugal, we say, let's go for a coffee, and like, it can literally mean anything.
Yeah, I know. I know what European lifestyle is
anything.
like. I've heard.
I can tell you, like, I go for a coffee,
and then you'll be out for the next 10 hours and somehow just end up at a club, and then you'll come home at like 4 a.m. and be like, yeah, that was a really good coffee.
Exactly. Or like, so I go for coffee with them 3 times a week at least.
Right.
So let's say Wednesday we get off from work and we go to like our local pub, and just meet for like beer, basically. I can't tell you the last time I actually had coffee.
Do you like?
It just doesn't happen.
You know, when you meet the Saki, so one of the things with me is that when I'm meeting the same people like over and over and over and over again, I know that I feel like I'm not growing because I'm not taking on board like completely new people's interactions and stuff like that. Maybe it's not growing. I become complacent in those relationships, I think is the way to describe it. That doesn't mean I don't love those people when I want to spend time with them. I've chosen to go and see them. But we have a mutual friend, Musin. Musin and I will call most days. Like I will have a FaceTime with him or a phone call most days. 5-10 minutes up to an hour max. Like we both have lives to live. But on the other side, it's like I don't think I could meet Musin every single day. I could call him. I could tolerate it. And this isn't him as a person. It's me. I would become like I can't like I'd find it really difficult to just go out and meet. Like if we were working on a project together, that's slightly different. But I also like my own space, and I also like meeting new people. So hence the podcast is great because I get to meet new people. Do you not find it a little bit odd that you go out like 3 times a week with the same people? It's like the same. Do you not feel like sometimes it's the same conversations about the same things? Like there's no new perspectives.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it definitely is. And that's why. So are you familiar with Discord?
Yes, I am familiar with Discord.
Yeah. So on Discord, I'm part of like a server with a bunch of other people that subscribe to this girl's Patreon. She's a podcaster too. She's a philosopher.
Interesting.
And this is how I came across a bunch of new concepts and wacky ideas. But I haven't talked to them in a while. But there was a time, like a few months, that I needed to talk to those people, because it was a way of hearing and listening to new ideas and new perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Because with my friends, it's security. It's knowing what to expect. It's a guarantee that I will have a good time. And I see them like family. We've been friends, most of us, we've been friends for 17 years.
Right.
A lot of them are family. Like 2 of them are sisters, 4 of them are cousins. It's and then there's like 3 of us who have no family connection to them, but we were basically adopted because everyone's family, so we end up being like family too. And I was talking to 2 of them last Friday. It does feel stagnant sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about being friends with someone for so long is that it's very hard, at least for me, it's very hard to wrap your head around the idea that you might be growing or becoming a version of yourself that those people don't know. I'm not talking about outgrowing them, because I think as much as I become a bit different in some things, I will never outgrow my friends, because they're part of me. Like they're part of my identity. Who I am today only makes sense because of like what I've been through with them and what they've taught me, and I'm sure what I've taught them too. But when you know someone for so long, and knowing that they've seen me this way for so long, it's hard for me to present myself as slightly different. Even if, like, naturally I don't want to be that version,
Mm-hmm.
I tend to be stuck with that version, because I guess it comes down to like fear of rejection, maybe.
But also the sunk
And like
cost of
they've
that
known me for
relationship,
so
right?
long. Yeah. Like what if they don't like this version of me now? And I've changed a lot. The last 2 years, like politically, I've changed a lot. Like I was someone who had no interest in politics. Like literally, I didn't care. And And now I have a lot of opinions.
See, that's funny.
And those opinions.
Because I've gone the complete opposite. Like, there was a point in my life, and maybe it still kind of exists within me, where like I wanted to be the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Like, I thought politics was a really good job for me and my character.
Yeah.
And now I don't even watch the news.
Yeah. No, I don't watch the news
Like,
either. When I mean politics.
Yeah, but I don't watch the news in terms of like, not like what the BBC, like we've got the BBC here. I watch like the Commons. So we have the Houses of Parliament. So like watching the Commons talk, I used to kind of like watch that, like kind of see what's happening there. In the UK, it's a little bit weird the way they do it. There's like this weird kind of banter that they have. It's very odd, but like I used to be quite intrigued about that. Now it's more like, let me ask someone who's educated in a political space, whose ideas, principles, concepts I trust and feel like give a good, well-rounded explanation of things, and I'll just go and ask them and be like, okay, who's a good person to vote for?
Yeah. Oh no, but yeah, I don't mean. I think that's really like intelligent, of you. But what I mean in this case, when I say politics, is political issues, and not politics as in the candidates to whatever position in Portugal. Like, I still don't care much about that.
So, for instance, would you say,
I mean, like Palestine.
Okay.
That's politics at the end of the day. I mean,
Right.
It's human rights, but it all comes down to politics. Racism, LGBTQIA plus, that's whole politics. And I didn't care about any of those things, and now I do. And most of what I believe is very different to what most of my friends believe.
Right.
And that has created some tension in some moments between us.
Are you able to like have conversations about how you would go about solving those tensions? Yes. And talking about how you've changed?
Okay. No, I thought you were asking something else. I think like now we just don't talk about it, like, which is not the best way to go, but I don't think none of us is ready to give in. And like, my beliefs are, so I do believe that we should have strong views and beliefs, but it's what I told you the other day. If someone, you have the right to your own opinion,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're shown or told a more logical or like better idea or perspective, you have a duty and an obligation to change your view.
I wouldn't say it's a duty, though. I would say it's like you would be doing a disservice to yourself if you wouldn't at least try to look at it in this new perspective, because it could work for you, right? This could one, completely change the way that you perceive life, or two, it could just make you slightly more efficient in the thing that you're doing. Like, okay, to use the example that we talked about the other day, if someone said to me like, Viraj, the way that you're editing is just backwards. Well, all that I know at this moment in time is how to edit this way, and they show me a completely new way. It'd be doing maybe it is a duty, actually. Maybe it is a duty. I have a duty to myself, or it'd be a disservice to myself to not at least try to see if I can figure it out and weave it into my own way so that it improves my life. Like, if it's like we're doing exactly the same thing, you do it one way and it gets done in 10 minutes, I do it my way and it gets done in an hour, it'd be stupid if I didn't try it your way. And that's the difficult thing, is like, people always want their own opinion. People always want to do it their way. I think you've got to be so humble and so open. Yeah, it is ego, and you have to be so open to like trying new things, and look, someone else can be better than you at something. It's just a fact, right? You could have more mental clarity than me because you put in the work to get to that point. You could be more politically up to date than I am because you take more interest in that. Now, if I wanted to be like you, if I wanted those things, why wouldn't I try your way of thinking? Why wouldn't I try the way that you do things, you research things and stuff like that? Because if I do it my way, I'm just going to end up in the position that I'm in. You have to be so open to other people's perspectives. Because so what? You do it your way. And it's just your way. There's 8 billion people on the planet who all do it a slightly different way. And all everyone's striving for is to just, I think, deep down, is to try and be the best version of themselves. So the best version of myself isn't going to come internally from me all the time. It's going to become by looking at other people and be like, okay, so he's doing this way and he's better than me or she's better than me at this particular thing that I want to get good at. Okay, so let me take on board the way that they do stuff. The ego's a massive problem. Ego's a huge problem in relationships and friendships.
It's one of our worst enemies. Because it's present in like everything. And it requires a lot of like training for you to be able to like go like overcome your ego.
Do you not think that's crazy though? The fact that we have to overcome the thing, that the entity that lives, this thought that of ourselves that lives inside of us, we have to overcome that.
Yeah, it's a paradox in a way, because like it's what makes you you, but you have to overcome it.
It's so weird.
But it is a problem for us, and of course I struggle with my ego too.
How do you get over your
also ego? I think because in the last few years I realized there was so much I was not interested in, but ended up realizing that I actually like those things. That, you know, it made me realize that I don't know everything, and there's people who for sure know more than me, and have a way of looking at things probably better than mine. So, and I've come across, like, I actively look for other perspectives.
How? By reading, by listening, by communicating?
Or, let me rephrase that. I don't look for other perspectives. The fact that my friends have so many opinions that are different to mine, like politically, which then applies to everything in our lives, allows me not to be in an echo chamber.
Okay.
So on social media, the way the algorithm works, you're constantly being fed information that feeds your confirmation bias, and that makes you think the way you're thinking even more, and makes people more polarized. Because my life, my offline life, most people around me think differently, it counterbalances the algorithm on my Instagram, which is great, because my Instagram really is an echo chamber like everyone else's. But in real life, it's everything but. So it works out great for me. But it's not like I actively look for other
when you're making when you're making new friends, for instance, and these individuals on your Discord is probably in a way like an echo chamber, but like online, if you're meeting new friends, if you're just out on one of your coffee escapades, and you're meeting new people, do you actively go and like seek, I guess unconsciously go and seek out people that support the same opinions and support the same views as you do, or do you go and look for people that go against your views?
Like I can't answer that, because like, how do you, I don't go and meet new people. It's what we do, like it's the way we live in Portugal, because it's where I'm from, like Porto, it's such a small city
Is it one of
that
those
like
everyone knows everyone?
everyone knows
Ah,
everyone.
okay.
So it's very hard to meet new people. Of course, there's people I don't know, like of course, but I'm 27. I've had the same friends for 17 years.
Like the same core
There's
group of friends
yes,
for 17 years.
yes. My oldest friend I met in 5th grade. Or the friend I've had for like the longest. I met in 5th grade. She was in my class. Then she had a cousin who was like in 6th grade, but like they were best friends already. I became best friends with them. Then one of them has a sister who's like 3 years older than me. So yeah, it was always like we've always been together. Like this friend that that I've known since 5th grade. I studied in the same class as her until graduating high school, except for 1 year. Like in 10th grade, we went to different schools. Other than that, we were always together. Like I've known myself with her in my life for longer than without, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like, yeah. And like her, there's most of my other friends from that group of friends. So yeah, unless let's say I get into a relationship and that person has friends who I don't know, then I will meet new people. But other than that, it's it's not like we're like none of us or any of us will have new people and new friendships in their life because we have such solid friendships right now, and it's just not how it works here.
But that doesn't mean that
It's
you
such a
can't.
small place that you always have the same people.
That doesn't mean that you can't make it different, though, right? Like if you wanted to, you could go
Yeah.
out and I guess you don't do that in Portugal, but you do it in your online world. Like you're on a bunch of people on a Discord channel. You go on these applications and you meet new people, like Clubhouse, for instance. How else would we have met?
Well, that's like mind-boggling to my friends.
Really?
Like what I do, the way I live my online life. My friends are always like taking the piss at me because I have internet friends.
I think that's pretty cool. The fact
Like
you're able to make a
constantly.
friend in a different country but never actually have met
I
them.
love it, but that's the thing. Then like I don't feel like sharing it with them, with my like real life friends,
Real life
as
friends.
in offline life, as in offline friends, because they don't understand, and it's just weird. And again, it all comes down to ego because it breaks with what you're used to. You like in your like the drawers in your head, you automatically file it under doesn't make sense because it breaks with what you think. And it because you can't really understand it, so it's not like, oh okay, I don't understand it, why, like why would someone do this, like what can they get from it, contrary to like what I'm doing. No, some people, because of their ego, they're like, oh, okay, this is not the way I'm used to doing things, so let's dismiss it right away, and like they put it to the side. And because I've always felt that there was much more to me than the version I am around my friends. There's like a part of me that I couldn't explore with them, and because I'm always getting into different stuff, like the last few months I've been into philosophy. There was a time I wanted to like learn how to draw and do illustration. There was like another like period that I wanted to be into whatever. So I'm always changing my interests, which is very annoying, but it's one, it's unfair to ask my friends to keep up with it. Second, it's stuff that doesn't interest them. So, I could say, oh, it doesn't interest them, so they won't engage. So I won't I won't look for anyone who does like share this interest, and I'll just annul that part of myself. Or I can say, there's people out there who like this too. So let me go try and find
Hmm.
them. Um and that's how I've come across like crazy and wacky ideas. That's how I've met you. Um and a bunch of other people, like you mentioned Muzen, it was the same thing. It was Clubhouse. I heard of that app through the Discord, actually. And I was like, okay, you can meet like-minded people here that even though they're like-minded, they can also like bring something new to the table.
We talked about like the ordinary person and how the ordinary person can make an impact on your life. Who would you say should come on the ordinary experience and talk about like their lives, the things that they've gone through, the experience that they've got, like the amazing things that they're doing in their lives that can change someone else's potentially? Is there anyone that springs to mind?
Definitely.
Who?
Definitely. And like as soon as God, I don't want to like make his ego any bigger than it already is. You don't know this person, but as soon as you started talking and I realized where this is going, this person just like came into mind. And am I supposed to like elaborate on that?
You
Like
can do.
and
I'd love it.
say who it
I'd
is?
love a name if possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you the name like after.
Okay.
but but we've talked about
Uh-huh.
him. It's my ex-boyfriend. We're great friends, and he's someone who like when we were talking about the ordinary
Mm-hmm.
person it impacting
Mm-hmm.
me and like inspiring me more than celebrities. He's one of those people. Like he said like this one sentence to me one day, and it's nothing extraordinary, but he told me something that I was like, everything is temporary in the grand scheme of things. And it's on one hand it's such like an obvious thing, but it stuck with me, and every now and then I find myself going back to that
Mm-hmm.
sentence. So he's done like such great things. um he's that kind of person that whenever he puts his mind into something, um he just goes and like he can be the best at it. And he will kill me because I'm like saying this, but he's super successful in his professional life. He's a champion in like athletics or whatever he does. I've never understood it. Um, it's just an inspiring person, and I shouldn't have mentioned he was my ex-boyfriend. I should have just said he was
That's
a
where
friend.
that's where that filter just like got forgotten about, right?
I know. I mean, I never remember the filter, like this whole conversation. Uh, but yeah, definitely if I had to think of someone, I would say him. But then there's a lot of people like me. Like, I don't think I'm podcast material.
I think when you listen to yourself back, you will look at yourself in a different light. If you want to listen to yourself back, that is. A lot of people are weird about like listening to themselves after they've done something like this because like they were there, they know what happened. But I have to listen to myself back because I need to edit it right. So for me, it's very much how can I use this as a twofold experience of getting better at podcasting, but also editing the damn piece of content.
Yeah. Yeah, you can edit out the part when I say my ex-boyfriend and just
No, I'm keeping that in there. No, I'm keeping that in there. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. I know we wanted to talk about some more things, but I think that we'll get you on again to talk about antinatalism because I know that's a concept that you've been exploring.
Yes. I mean,
And
I did a lot of research for this, so
yeah, exactly. So we have to put that research into good use. And also, I think it was good potentially that we didn't speak about it on your first podcast because now you've popped your cherry. You feel a lot more comfortable coming on again, and or us having a conversation around antinatalism and maybe some of the other concepts that it bleeds into or that surround it, because that is a difficult conversation, but a conversation that people like just don't usually have.
yeah.
So I appreciate you coming
It's
on.
one of those things. Yeah. No, thank you. I loved it. Thank you for having me. And in this case, it's not even thank you for inviting me. It's thank you for having me because I know that I was being like super annoying.
I would have got you on
But
eventually.
as I started, look, as I started a podcast by saying this is a sign that persistence goes a long way. And, you know, this could have turned out two ways. You would block me, or you'd say, yeah, sure, like, let's see what we can do with this. And that's what happened. And, you know, I've peaked in life.
Amazing.
From now on, from now on, it's just downhill.
No, absolutely not. From now on, it's uphill. From now on, it's just uphill. You've hit a new like kind of like base camp, and now it's just like rest here, up and on to the next one. Hopefully, we can meet up for one of those coffees when you get your way over to the UK, or I found my way over to Portugal.
Yes.
Most definitely. But I will see you soon.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.